Now I know what you're thinking. Hi up, fatty. You looking some smart today? What's going on? You in court? No, funeral. And as is the way these days with funerals, it's a non-black affair. Not in a racist way. In a wear something a bit more colourful because the bloke was a colourful chap. In this case, my old chemistry teacher, Mr. Nichols, lovely man, who bizarrely I've stayed in touch with for the last 30 odd years since I left school. And I was crap at chemistry, so he introduced me to the word slapdash, which is a Cornish term for not very good, and it used to feature at the bottom of my exercise books on a regular basis, normally accompanied by the words "see me." He also introduced me to the one thing that I remember about chemistry, which is Johnny went to school. He goes to school no more, because what he thought was H2O was H2SO4, which I think is the chemical symbol for sulfuric acid. And therein lies my sole knowledge of chemistry, but it proves that he did teach me something. Anyway, it's his funeral, so I'm off there in a minute. Well, I'm off there now. I'm going to pick up the extended family on the way. So, back to the reason for the video, which is following yesterday when Raquel from accounts announced the worst policy ever invented in the history of policies for motoring, the pay per mile scheme, which is quite frankly shambolic. Less than 24 hours after she announced it, it got me thinking overnight, and it was due to another bloke called Tony. In this case, Tony Roach. And even though Roach is a place just up the road in Cornwall, this bloke's from London. He is one of the regulars at the Carpenter's Arms before West Ham games. So Tone, thanks for this. You inspired me, because he lives in London. And what he said was, this is nothing to do with Rachel Reeves. This is entirely Sadiq Khan's doing. It's been his plan all along to introduce this, and that's why all the cameras are up everywhere, why ULEZ is doing what it's doing. He wants to totally control every movement of every vehicle inside the M25. Which then got me thought process onto, well, who's going to suffer the most as a result of that? Well, obviously, first of all, milk floaters. Secondly, polished turd drivers. But the largest amount of milk floats in London, black cabs. The London Electric Vehicle Company, incidentally, bit of background on that, my mate used to work for them. They're actually owned by Geely, who also own Volvo, and they are indeed a Chinese firm. But nevertheless, they've been making these electric cars for quite some time, and it has to be said, for what they do, which is, you know, rattle a bit and drive around London at relatively low speeds, they are about as good as it gets in the world of milk floats for doing exactly that job. However, I then had to Google, how many miles a year does your average black cab do? And varying results with AI, but the general consensus is somewhere around 40,000 miles a year. Well, it doesn't take a genius to work out that if that's the case, that black cab that was previously tax-free, congestion charge-free, ULEZ-free, and pay per mile free, is now none of those things. Wobbly bracket time, that's better. And all those costs are going straight on to the cab driver. Nobody else. Nobody's picking up the tab for that. Well, they are. We are. Because now, if he does 40,000 miles a year, that's another 1,200 quid he's got to pay in tax, on top of his 195 quid for the car in the first place, on top of his daily congestion charge. Or are they still exempt from that? They may still be exempt for another year on that. Either way, with the road tax and the pay per mile tax, that's 1,400 quid. Well, basic rule of thumb when it comes to cabs, double it, add a bit on, call it 3 grand. That's 3 grand he's got to take extra every year just to earn the same as he did the previous year. Or she, though I've never been picked up by a woman in a black cab. I've got to be honest, I haven't, ever. So that's 3 grand extra he's got to take. Well, I don't know what your average fare in London is. Say it's 20 quid. That's your first 150 jobs out the window, gone. The first 150 customers you pick up for an average 20 quid fare are free, because you're not making any money out of that at all you're doing is picking up the tab. So you're worse off. Significantly worse off. So what are they going to do? There's only one thing you can do in these situations in business. You've got to put your prices up. So that's what they're going to do. And we're going to end up, instead of paying 20 quid, it's going to be 25 quid. You know, the extras are going to go on. The rates are going to go on. There won't be any of this, oh, you'll be all right. We won't bother with the £2 luggage fee that we have to put on the meter sometimes because we're nice blokes and we just want the business. They're going to have to do everything they can to claw back every penny, because the government are punishing them for doing exactly, and the mayor for doing exactly what they told them to do in the first place, which was get rid of your rattly old diesel, get yourself one of these brand new electric ones, pay a fortune for it. Don't worry, you'll be able to pay it off with your fees. Oh, but we'll have another 3 grand out of you for that, just to cover our new scam that we've come up with. This could be the end of the black cab. If this ever comes to fruition, which I don't think it will, by the way, but if it ever did, this could be the end of the black cab as we know it. It could be unsustainable, because they're just going to have to price themselves out the market. Meanwhile, they're bringing in driverless cars. That starts next year. Now they obviously will be subject to the same pay per mile. They'll be subject to the same tax. They'll be subject to all the other overheads. The difference is they won't have a bloke like me sat there trying to earn a living out of it. So the robots are going to replace the black cabs, and we'll just get rid of them completely off the road, and they can just go and sit at home and claim benefits. I mean, on that, somebody's just turning around in the middle of the road. I know it's a low bridge, but you've only got a Mazda 2. What are you on about? And that can be the only conclusion. This is part of the great reset and the plan to replace us all with robots, and it starts with a black cab driver, because economically it just won't be worth. In fact, they'll probably end up doing some sort of mass redundancy scheme just to get them off the road, so they can replace them with black cabs, so that you can get in a car, they can lock the doors, and then they can take you wherever they want. So if your social credit score isn't good enough, they'll let you in the car, they just won't let you out. They'll probably drive you to the nearest police station, where you can spend some time contemplating how you let down the great dictator Keir Starmer. I mean, it's a dystopian world we're moving into here. But if you're in London, which I am on Sunday, I will get in a black cab and I will ask the black cab driver what he thinks. And we'll have some live feedback on this, because it's an institution. It's part of London. Well, it's part of most cities. All those cities that also have ULEZ and also have cameras everywhere and also can track your every movement and charge your every mile without much hassle. It's almost like it was part of the plan. You know, that mad conspiracy theory that 5 years ago when we said this was going to happen, and it was, oh, you tinfoil hat wearing wanker. What a conspiracy theory. This is pay per mile. That'll never happen. There'll never be cameras tracking every movement of every car in every city in Britain. Oh, what's that? It's already happening. Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, but it's just a conspiracy theory. As far as I'm concerned, if somebody says that something I've said is a conspiracy theory, that means I am hovering right over the target. I am 100% accurate, and it will come true, because that's all that seems to happen. Meanwhile, whilst at the funeral, I will say a prayer for the black cab drivers in the hope that this policy never bloody happens and we can just continue to have a bit of normality instead of being picked up by a faceless robot with self-locking doors. I know the cabs have got self-locking doors, but they got a bloke that can press a button and open them again. Oh dear, what a time to be alive, isn't it? It's one thing after another. It's relentless, it never stops, and it don't look like ever stopping sometime soon. So there you have it. Pay per mile just got worse, mainly for black cab drivers, but pretty much for all of us eventually. We all know it's coming, and despite the fact that nobody thinks it's a good idea, nobody thinks digital ID is a good idea. That's why she spent said she's going to spend 1.4 billion quid bringing it in. It's like living in China, but without the weather and the smog and the technology and the communism. Well, no, not without the communism. Very much with the communism. So that's something to look forward to, isn't it? Future my arse.